Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar. I know we took a couple months off from the webinars to enjoy our summer, so I hope everyone had a wonderful summer and are ready for the fall. A couple housekeeping items before I introduce our speaker. If you have any questions during this webinar, you would want to type them in the question box. Justin will be answering these questions at the end of our webinar. If for any reason your call drops during this webinar, please immediately get back on. If you cannot immediately get back on, you need to contact us ASAP if there's any kind of disruption, and we will help you get back on. Also, if you did not type in the names of the additional people sitting with you today, please contact us via email, Kelly, Kelly, @nysfda.org, and we will try to help you with that as well. Following this webinar, we ask for 7 to 10 business days before your credit will appear on your portal, and you will receive a notification in the mail as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Justin Zaber. Justin Zaber, CFSP, is the Director of Death who speaks the language of life for you and your business. He is a third-generation licensed funeral director and professional speaker who works with associations and businesses to help them create customer experience to die for. Justin has been granted the professional designation of Certified Funeral Service Practitioner by the Academy of Professional Funeral Service Practice. Justin is past president of the National Speakers Association, Ohio chapter. He was elected only the second youngest president in the 40-year history of NSA Ohio. Justin is also an actor and voiceover artist for film, television, and radio. He has appeared with Kevin Costner in the Hollywood film Draft Day about the Cleveland Browns and with LeBron James in a TV commercial. He's thrilled to be speaking to you today and has a great program custom made for us. Today you will walk away with practical ideas, helpful tips, and valuable insights on how to be more successful in your business, and you will learn through clear examples, humorous anecdotes, and insightful observations what it takes to be the best funeral service professionals you can be. Even though Justin is an actor, his favorite roles are as father to his son and daughter, and as a husband to his wife. Join him as he attempts to put the fun back in funeral. Please welcome Justin.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen strange sights, but by far the strangest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge that I cremated Sam McGee. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just after 1 here, East Coast time. I know this is kind of a tough time slot for all of us. I mean, you hopefully have a cup of Starbucks there, and I've got my water right here. The 1 to 2 o'clock is tough at the funeral home when there's nothing going on. And I don't know about you, but lately it's been a little bit slow. Been talking to funeral directors all over the country, dealing with a little slow period here post-COVID now, 3 years. So yeah, it's a struggle, and so is this issue of cremation. So I am going to share with you this poem today. Hopefully you've heard it. If you haven't, you will hear the poem in its entirety. I was a speech and theater geek back in high school and college. They call it oral interpretation of literature, poetry interpretation to be exact. It was one of my fortes. Speech and debate was my jam back in the day. So, you know, when I decided to join the family business as a third-generation funeral director, it became a natural, right? This poem was kind of in my repertoire, in my log, and I started thinking about this. And I'm going to try to profile the modern cremation consumer for you today. I will be the first to admit that I am no expert when it comes to cremation. I am not an expert, nor do I claim to be. I am an average, successful funeral director, just like I'm guessing every single one of you on this call are. I'll share with you a little bit of our vital statistics, but I am not professing to be an expert. Do I speak professionally in the funeral industry? Yes, I do, part-time. It's my side hustle, if you will. I really enjoy it. It's the way I choose to get my CEUs. We need to get 18 or 20 here in Ohio, and I've just done that. I just completed mine. So I know you're doing that as well, and that's fine. But I'm just like you. I'm a full-time funeral director who speaks part-time on the side. So I live in your world each and every single day. I was just telling Kelly, I just came from the National Cemetery this morning. I was the only funeral director in charge on a service. You know, I had to be minister, funeral director, and drive down there, 45 minutes down, 45 minutes back. So I live in your world every single day. And ever since I started my career full-time in this business over 20 years ago, I've been wrestling with the idea of cremation. So yes, it's a poem today. It's not a true story. The cremation of Sam McGee is a tall tale, if you will. You might not realize that until the very last line of the poem. So listen closely. You'll see why it's a tall tale. It's not meant to be taken seriously. However, it was a famous poem written in 1949 by the late great poet Robert W. Service. He wrote it about a character he envisioned at his own bank. So it's based on a true person, a real person, but it's not a true story. But today, for our purposes here today, Sam McGee is a spirit, right? He is a spirit, and his spirit is alive and well in the modern cremation consumer. And I'm going to try to create this character. I'm going to try to embody all of my research and personal experiences and real life, business experiences. I'm going to try to embody them in the character of Sam McGee. So today we are going to try to figure out the 5 W's, and the 1 H. That's the who, the what, the when, the where, the why of cremation, both now and in the future. We're going to try to find out, who Sam McGee is, what Sam McGee wants, where Sam McGee wants it, why it is he wants what he wants, and most importantly, how we as modern funeral service professionals, here in 2024 and beyond, can continue to wrestle with this, because it's not going back, right? We just recently crossed the 50% threshold, and I'm sure a lot of you are there. Most of you might not be there yet. Most of you might be way past this. So I think there's something here, for everyone. And there's a 6th W, right? Who cares? Who cares? Why should we care what you're saying today, Justin? Well, we all should care, because this is our livelihood. This is our profession. This is our service that we provide to our families and our communities. And, for most of us, this is a ministry, right? This is a ministry. It's a corporal work of mercy. We align this with our very faith and the very fibers of our being. So yeah, we should care today. I do. I hope you can tell, and I hope you should as well. So again, take a sip of that coffee, and here we go. The cremation of Sam McGee, a profile of the modern cremation consumer. If you haven't guessed already, I speak with gusts of up to 55 miles an hour. So I speak fast. The reason for that is to get as much content in here as I can for you. And hopefully at the end, we'll take some questions, maybe share a couple stories at the end. So here we go. Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why Sam left his home in the South to roam around the North Pole, God only knows. Now, Sam was always cold, but this land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his very southern way that, shoot, I'd rather live in hell. So on a Christmas day, Sam and I were mushing our way straight over the Dawson's Trail. Now talk of your cold. Through the parka's fold, It stabbed like a driven nail. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. Okay, I should probably explain that the story is about two men who are on a dog sled expedition way up in Alaska, in Canada's Canada's Yukon Territory, and they're on the Yukon Trail. And one guy is from the south, and he's not used to the cold. So, again, here's the profile. I've done a lot of research on cremation, both personally, professionally, and I've tried to create this character. So let's kind of share with you a little bit where I'm coming from, and kind of put yourself into my context. I'm not trying to, humbly brag or anything, but if you will, these are the vital statistics of the Zaber Funeral Home, and kind of think for yourselves where you fall into this. We were founded in 1927. We're a single location. We are in our third generation of leadership. I'm a third generation funeral director, myself and my brother, my business partner. And if we don't screw things up in the next 3 years, hopefully, God willing, we're going to make that 100-year mark. We are located in Parma, Ohio. I'm speaking to you right now from one of our offices and catering facilities. We are a southwest suburb of Cleveland, so if you've ever flown into Cleveland, we're kind of on the same side as the airport. We at one time were the largest suburb in the U.S. After World War II, the vets started moving home, and Parma was literally the largest suburb in the United States. So it's still a big place. It was over 100,000 people at one point, but now it is a little less, about 80,000 maybe, and it's still big land-wise too. It's 20 square miles. I am a Browns fan, and I gotta admit I was a little overconfident this past weekend when the New York Giants came to town and kicked our butts, but that's all right. That's personal. I'll have to get over that, so I will. Okay, by the numbers, these aren't completely accurate yet. I haven't quite done a deep dive on our last year, but in 2022 we did 186 calls. That's about our average. We're about a 175 call a year firm. I got to be honest, things have been down. So in 2023, we're probably down a good 25, 30 calls. We're probably closer to 115. And it's been that way since COVID. So if you're hurting out there, I'm hurting too. We got to figure out a way to bring these numbers back. But here we are right now, about 175. We did 186 in 2022. That's 49% burial, 91 calls to be exact, 51% cremation. We crossed that threshold a couple years ago. So 95 calls there, and 54% catering. So that's 65 meals out of a possible 120 roughly burial or cremation calls in order to offset the loss of revenue through cremation. We use catering as one of those things. Now, in talking to Kelly and doing a little bit of research, she tells me that catering is now legal in New York State, which is awesome, but that 95% of you don't do it. So I take that as a personal challenge. Hopefully, I'll be coming out there in person at some point, and I have a whole nother presentation on how exactly we do this, a whole nother hour presentation on how we counteract the loss of revenue with catering. I won't go into that today, but just know that we use that as a bona fide, legitimate strategy. So to break down our cremation statistics a little more exact, and I'm sure many of you kind of break these down in the same way. Our 51% cremation rate was 95 calls. Let's just say 100 roughly. And then that call breaks down pretty closely, one third, one third, one third. And I'm sure you all divide this the same way. We consider a full service cremation, again, 32% of our cremation rate, 30 calls, a rental casket, a visitation and a service. I'm sure most of you consider it the same way. About 32% of that is cremation with memorial service. So that may or may not include a visitation. That's about 30 calls there. And then, yeah, direct cremation, about 36%, 35 calls. I mean, it used to be we were doing a lot more full service cremation and a lot more cremation with memorial service, but that direct cremation rate continues to rise. And that's what I think is the most disturbing part of all of this. And I'll get into that as we go through the presentation. So W number one, who Who is Sam McGee? Let's try to break it down for you. Samuel Tennessee McGee was born in the early to mid 1940s. He is, 65 to 75 years old, married. He has 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. He sent all 3 kids to college. He's recently retired. He's independently wealthy. Money is not an issue for Sam McGee. He owned a PR firm, sold it to his longtime business partner when his kids didn't want to take it over. What does that sound like? Kind of sounds like the funeral business, right? He suffers from part-timer's disease, right? He remembers some things some of the time, but sometimes he forgets everything, right? Does that describe anybody out there? I try to have a little fun with it, right? Some things are just for me. He's got several degrees. For example, he got his BS in BS, and he got his MS because he's good at BS. He teaches part-time at a local college. He consults for a fee on the side. He's got a side hustle as well. He travels extensively with his wife, but he knows his wife and loves her so much, he just can't stand to be on vacation with her for over 2 weeks. Any hands out there? Maybe. He tries to stay in touch with a younger generation. For example, he is a TikTok junkie. He loves viral videos. That's his guilty pleasure. He knows what he wants. He knows why he wants it. Like, for example, he respects religious beliefs, but he doesn't necessarily go to church every Sunday. He believes what Billy Joel says. That's his favorite artist, favorite song, Only the Good Die Young. He'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints because the sinners are much more fun. A good New York, Jersey guy there. Sam McGee knows that when you die, you can't take it with you. But one of his favorite sayings of all time is, hey, who says you can't take it with you? It's an oldie but a goodie there. Now, ladies, listen. I know there's at least half of you out there, probably more. Just because the character in this poem is a man doesn't mean that all of these same characteristics couldn't apply to a woman, to a female. So, of course, what would her name be? Samantha Tennessee McGee. Now, we've been told that half or more of funeral planners, half of the decision makers that we talk with on a regular basis are women. So again, all of these characteristics could just as well apply to a woman. W number 2 is what? What does Sam McGee want? And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, Sam turned to me and, Captain, says he, I think I'll cash in this trip, I guess. But if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request. Well, Sam seemed so low that I couldn't say no. And then he says with a sort of moan, it's this cursed cold, and it's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet, it ain't being dead, but rather it's the awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that follow fair, you'll cremate my last remains. Now, a pal's last need is a thing to heed. So I swore that I would not fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn. He looked pale. He crouched on the sleigh and he raved all day about his home back in Tennessee. And by nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. All right, so now I know what you might be thinking. All right, Justin, it's point number 2 of your presentation, and Sam McGee has already died. That's just the beginning. So where are we going with that? So let's talk about what he wants. Sam McGee wants the 2 V's, and this is nothing new. This is nothing surprising, but let's try to define it. He wants value and he wants variety, and he wants all of these things at a low cost. So let's define V number 1 value. the baby boomers are redefining what they consider to be a value. So value for Sam McGee means high quality at a reasonable cost, and he wants it fast. Sam McGee follows the Amazon mentality of one-stop shopping and instant gratification. Now, I blame, in part, where we are today in funeral service. I kind of blame it on Amazon to a certain degree, and I'm guilty as well, okay? I have a Prime account, just like a lot of you guys out there do. My wife loves click shopping, and boxes show up on my front door. And what is that, right? It has conditioned entire American society to look for what they want at their fingertips, to have it immediately, to compare prices, to figure out what they want of value, click a button, and it shows up. Now, how has that infiltrated funeral service? Do you think your families nowadays are more patient or less patient? Do you think that they want things faster or slower? Do you think that they want things cheaper or more expensive? So those are three things right there that have completely been revolutionized by Amazon. And yet, when they go to their local funeral home, they want the same thing. Sometimes we can do this. Sometimes we can react this quickly, and sometimes we can deliver, but not always. I'm not perfect. I think you know what I'm trying to get at here. So the other tough part about it is that the definition of this word V, the V word, values, is very complicated because it's three-tiered. Okay, it's three-tiered. So a little English lesson here right now. Let's figure out why it's so complicated, because it hits three different levels that he places in high regard. He, Sam McGee, the modern cremation, the modern funeral consumer, as it is actually. Value, as a noun, this is my definition, is a perceived worth of a product or service. Think in Amazon terms, just like if you're shopping. Let's use it in a sentence. Example, Sam McGee thought the urn was a good value. Okay, V number 2, the second qualification of the definition, is also a noun, but it's a sociological term. So as a noun in sociology, the values are the ideals, customs, institutions, etc. of a society toward which the people of that society, us, have a positive regard. Values, anything we like or hold dear, basically. Let's use it in a sentence. Example, the rise in the popularity of cremation is due to a lack of family values. How many of you would agree with that statement? It's true for a lot of us. In my humble opinion, IMHO. Third qualification of the definition, as a verb, values, to hold something in high esteem or regard, use it in a sentence. Sam McGee values memorialization as part of his cremation experience, and we know that he does. I mean, just the term celebration of life places more emphasis not on the death experience, but on the life experience, because we have a hard time dealing with things that are tough for us. We know this as funeral service professionals. It's a lot harder for our families to realize this. We deal with this on a daily basis, sometimes healthily, sometimes not, but it's a lot harder for our families to deal with this whenever they come into contact with it. So they're having a hard time. We know this. V number 2 is variety. He wants value. All three qualifications of that definition. He also wants variety. He wants choices. He wants options. He wants personalization, customization. He doesn't want to choose out of a closet. Again, I keep saying he. Could be she. Absolutely could be she. She doesn't want to choose out of a closet. Now, what do I mean by that? Ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. Okay, I have a confession to make. We used to sell cremation out of a closet. We used to sell cremation out of a closet. Now, I can speak for you. I can speak therapeutically because I'm past this. I'm not using this as my own personal therapy. I'm past it. We don't do this any longer, but we used to. This is the closet, quite literally, that we used to sell cremation out of. Okay? This was just 6 urns and a flag case. That's it. That's how we used to sell cremation. We used to treat it as the little redheaded stepchild and put it in the corner, right? And well, if you want cremation, here you go. Here it is, right out of this closet. And that's how we used to sell it. Now, we no longer do. We've graduated, if you will. Obviously, cremation has overtaken burial now as the preferred method of disposition. But, we also have urns, if you want to think outside the box. W number 3 is when. When does Sam McGee want what he wants? There wasn't a breath in the land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven. Because of a corpse half hid, I couldn't get rid because of the promise I'd given. Now it was lashed to the sleigh, and he seemed to say, you may tax your brawn and your brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate these last remains. So, there's 2 questions to when Sam McGee wants it, and they are right now and later. I realize I can't see your hands, but raise them. How many of you out there have had to plan a cremation service right now? How many of you out there have had to wait 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to plan a cremation service? Raise your hands. Me too. This is the modern cremation consumer. They either want it right now or they want it later. I'm not happy about it any more than you are. Flexibility is the key. It's not getting easier. It's getting harder. Again, I live in this world every day just like you. They either want it right now or they want it later, because death is no longer convenient. It no longer fits in that little box that we call our lives. It's a tremendous inconvenience anymore. And people want to try to get around that. So, this is what they're doing. So the 2 answers, this, right now and later. Gosh, it's harder than ever to be flexible as a funeral service professional. Our families forget. We have lives. We have spouses. We have kids. We have grandkids. We have friends. We try to have a life outside of this business. We try to take care of our mental health. And all these things are difficult, especially when dealing with the modern consumer. Again, I feel your pain. I'm not providing many answers here yet. Hopefully I will. I'm trying to let you know that I live in this world every day, and I'm grasping at straws here. I'm trying to figure this modern consumer out, just like you are. So where does Sam McGee want what he wants? In just a minute. But first, W number 4, where? Where does Sam McGee want what he wants? So finally, I came to the marge of Lake LaBarge, and an old ship there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice that its name was the Alice May. So I looked at it, I thought a bit, and then I looked at my frozen chum. Then here, said I, with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was just lying around, and I heaped the flames higher. The flames, they just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see, and I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. So, the short answer to W number 3, where, is in a state-of-the-art, updated facility with modern decor. In a state-of-the-art, updated facility with modern decor. Think of your Marriott, your Hilton, your Hyatt. Got a question for you folks. If you were heading out of town, let's say you're coming to Cleveland, Ohio to watch the Giants beat the Browns, and you wanted a downtown hotel. You've never been to Cleveland before, and you're looking online. You see your Marriott, your Hilton, your Hyatt. Okay, they're all relatively the same price. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to look at the pictures online, and you're going to pick the one that you feel is the newest, right? You're going to pick the one that you feel is the newest. Well, guess what? When our families come to town, maybe they're coming from out of town, maybe they haven't even thought about a funeral home, and there's 3 funeral homes in town. They're all relatively close to one another. They're all, they look relatively good from the outside. So what are you going to do? You're either going to go inside or you're going to go online, and you're going to pick the one that you think is the newest. Think I'm wrong? Let me tell you a story. I'm looking for 3 words from the real estate industry that try to illustrate what I'm talking about. Yep, you're right. It's those 3 words. Not 3 different words, but one A word repeated 3 times. Those 3 words from the real estate industry, of course, are appearance, appearance, appearance. So my question to you is, how many calls are you losing because of the appearance of your facilities? I'm a golf fan. I'm a Caddyshack fan. There's some golf paraphernalia in my office behind us. I love, one of my favorite characters from that movie is Judge Schmales, right? Ted Knight. He plays a delightfully arrogant man in the films, hilariously. And one of his sayings is, everybody can't belong to my country club. Not everyone is welcome, right? Some people just don't belong. That's what he says. Well, I felt like I was on the other end of that when we were dealing with this cremation family. And I feel this story perfectly highlights how the modern cremation family feels. Now, a young man had passed away very tragically, a young man. And the parents of this young man were so emotionally distraught that they didn't feel that they could even make the arrangements. They didn't feel that they were emotionally up to it. So the mother of the deceased sent her 2 sisters to make the arrangements. Now, I will say, yes, they were a cremation family. It was for a full service cremation. And he was a young man in his 20s. And they were from a significant tax bracket higher than our normal customers. Let's just say that. Parma's a very blue collar town. This family was way above that. Okay. So the 2 aunts come in, and no sooner had they come in the funeral home than they immediately began to criticize the decor of our building. For example, it was early spring. We normally steam clean the carpet. We hadn't gotten to it yet, and they pointed it out right away. I guess the difference in this family is many people might think these things and keep it to themselves and keep it in their head. These ladies did not. They said it out loud, right? They said, this funeral home looks like a bowling alley. He's a young man. He can't be buried in an old place like this. He can't be buried in an old place like this. They brought up the dirt on the entrance of our carpet that we just hadn't steam cleaned yet. At the time, we had artificial plants, and I've seen them in some other funeral homes. They didn't care for those. They didn't care for our light fixtures. They didn't care for our drapery. They didn't care for our lamps. They didn't care for our chapel chairs. So I could see the wheels spinning in their head. They didn't want to use us. They wanted to go to the Marriott or the Hilton or the Hyatt, your competitor, that they thought was newer and newer updated. So this gets worse. Here's what they did. My brother happened to go to school with the young man. So mom and dad said, nope, you can't. I know they asked to go somewhere else, but mom and dad said, no, you cannot. We are using this funeral home because of our relationship with the family and my brother having gone to school with them. So they're staying. So they did what they wanted to do, and they brought in a professional stager, like a professional decorator. And the only thing I can explain, I know some of you are listening from New York City. Let's say there was this swanky downtown Manhattan, New York art studio. Okay, so maybe that art studio in downtown Manhattan wouldn't necessarily fly up in, I don't know, suburban Albany. And this was that family that had to go out to the country, if you will, and use this funeral home that they didn't think was updated enough. So here's what they did. I have pictures. Okay, this was what they brought in for their flowers. Okay, those are not the normal flowers that we usually order. Okay, that is a candelabra. Okay, not a chapel candle that we have lit. That thing, these have bamboo that go over the normal metal wire of our standing sprays. These baskets are high-end flowers. That thing in the back there above the candelabra, that has a trunk on it. Okay, that's a tree. Way more than we would normally do. See in the back here, you see these draperies? They brought in these draperies. They brought them in. The professional stager did all this. They also didn't care for our chapel chairs. So here's what they brought in. Now, I have to say, folks, we did some remodeling. These are that's the old carpet, the flowers, had to go. I love my parents. They're great people. They're good funeral professionals. They waited way too long to remodel. And all that fell to my brother and I dramatically in a very intense way, starting, with this family. So they didn't like the floral pattern on the carpet. They didn't like the floral pattern on that couch right there. They had these chairs delivered. But notice on the right, there's the chairs stacked up, and on the left, there's the cushions. Well, a big truck just dropped these off at the funeral home, okay, and then left. The guy left. Well, I can't. These chairs need to be assembled. Those cushions need to be put on those chairs, and those chairs have to be set up. Well, do you think I could call the family and have them do that? No, me and my staff. We were the hired help that had to do this. This is how the modern cremation consumer thinks. This is how they feel. They want to change everything that they don't like about the funeral business. So now, there they are. I had to set them all up in one chapel, transfer them over to the other. Now, listen, in the end, I got to be honest. The good end to this story, the positive end to this story, is that we went above and beyond in our service, as I know you would as well. When you've been hurt, when you've been insulted, when you've been, to your face, you go above and beyond, and you show them that you're a true professional. You're a big person. You can handle it, and you can give them the service that they want and the service they deserve. In the end, that's exactly what happened. We overcompensated. We went above and beyond with our service because they sure didn't like our decor. The modern cremation consumer wants everything in a modern, updated facility, with new decor. But the positive end to this story is I ran into the mother of the deceased at the grocery store, and she goes up to me, and I'm like, oh, here we go. She said, Justin, I want to thank you for what you did for my family. You did an excellent job. You went above and beyond, and I want to apologize for my sisters because my sisters are crazy. But you didn't let that stop you. You showed us that it's not the decor of your building that's the most important. It's your heart. It's your soul. It's your soul of service that you showed to us. And you went above and beyond and served us to the best of your ability, even though my sisters insulted you to your face. Thank you for doing that. You have a customer for life. So that's the positive end to that story. The harder part was taking a good, honest look at ourselves and realizing that, you know what, they might have been right. So here's what we did. I have a hard time with any speaker that would talk over Zoom and show you pictures and tell you to do something that they didn't do themselves. I have a hard time with that. As a man, as a funeral director, I don't like that. So I wouldn't tell you to do something that I didn't do already. So we took a good hard look at ourselves. None of this happened overnight. We had to do a capital improvement plan, and we had to prioritize these things. But in the end, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, we were able to make the changes that they suggested. So there's the picture of before, and then there's the picture of after. We put in that modern cut room. Here is the before. There's the after. There's that room again, before and after. There's the arrangement conference room that we had, completely gutted, as you can see, obviously. And here it is now, the floral carpet gone. Bright, see, it's bright and it's airy. We took their suggestions on colors, on lighting, and we incorporated them into this. So again, it didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen right away. It certainly took a lot of money. We took a lot of capital improvement, but my brother and I made a conscious effort to reinvest that money back into our business, in money that the consumer could see. It's so tough to spend it on a HVAC or a roof or flooring or something like that. Something that the consumer sees, so that they see you're reinvesting. So my challenge to you is how many families are you losing because of the appearance of your funeral home? Has it been 10, 15, God forbid 20 years since you last updated your funeral home? Maybe you're losing calls because of that, because the modern family wants new, they want updated, they want to see that money has been reinvested back into the business. Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, maybe this hurts to hear. Maybe this hurts to hear. Trust me, it hurt me to hear it. But in the end, I decided that they were right. So I really made an investment in myself and my business. We to cater to the modern cremation consumer. No longer selling cremation out of a closet, but selling it like this. So, W number 5, why? Why does Sam McGee want what he wants? I do not know how long in the snow that I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and they danced about before again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked. Then the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the very heart of the furnace's roar. And he wore a smile. You could see a mile, and he said, please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear that you'll let in the cold and the storm. And since I left Plumtree down in Tennessee, well, brother, it's the first time that I've been warm. The end. The dark and strangely humorous tale of Sam McGee. So, thanks for humoring me with that. The last W is W number 5. Why? Why does Sam McGee want what he wants? I mean, the answers to this question are as numerous as everyone in here. I mean, my numbers are showing there's at least 250 of you out there, maybe 300, 400, 500. I bet everybody's got a different answer. I bet they're all good. I bet they're all right. So here we go. A little bit of research. The rise in the popularity of cremation is due to the increasing loss of old values, rituals, ceremonies, and customs. Essentially, it is the replacement of the old with the new. One of the first books ever written in the funeral profession about cremation was Mike Kubisek's book, Cremation and the Funeral Director. So again, you've all heard these. These are actually reasons heard from families and arrangements about why. You ever heard this? In Sam McGee's voice. Ready? Just put me in a pine box and cremate me, because I just want something simple. I don't want to be a burden to anyone, and I don't want all this stuff. It's just going to be easier for everybody. Trust me, it's going to be easier. Well, in my humble opinion, folks, the reason why people choose cremation more than any other reason is on the basis of cost. Not necessarily because he can't afford to pay for a traditional burial funeral service. but rather because he or she values, there's that word again, something else more than the services that we provide and the cost of our merchandise. Let me break it down. You may not agree. That's okay. This is my humble opinion. This is what I've come up with, and here's how I address it. Sam McGee always hated the bury now mentality. He wanted to manipulate death in his own terms. By the way, if you resonate with any of this stuff, I have no problem if you want to take a picture of your computer screen. I encourage that. Take a picture. Try to incorporate it into your businesses. Just give me credit, right? Don't steal it, but use it to your advantage. You know what? Here's an example. What's the most popular funeral day, right? Saturday. And no more bury now on the funeral director's schedule. It used to be they took whatever day we suggested. They don't anymore. And why? Why don't they? Why do they wait till Saturday? It's the same two reasons that we all hear. I don't want to take off work, and neither do my family or friends. And number two, you know, people are coming in from out of town, right? Don't want to take off work. People are coming in from out of town. It's always the same two reasons. And that's why, you know, our families choose Saturday. Sam McGee always believed that burial is not flexible, but cremation is. He believes that burial is not cheap, but cremation is. He believes burial is not easy, but cremation is. We in the funeral profession know differently, don't we? We can't tell them that. He believes burial is complicated, but cremation is not. He believes burial is only in the winter, but cremation can wait until any season. Spring, summer, fall, or of course, Saturday season, right? So, number one is how. How do we do this? How do we cater to the modern cremation consumer? How do we give Sam McGee what he wants? How do we make Sam McGee happy? Again, here's some answers. I'm trying. I'm grasping at straws here, just like you are, but I'm trying to figure out how we do this. Okay, this is new content here. You might want to take a picture of this. Either you, as the primary arranger, or your funeral directors should be using the cremation funnel. I don't think I spelled funnel correctly, but here we go. Number one, if the question is burial versus, think of a funnel, right? You got it big at the top, and then it gets narrower at the bottom. Narrow at the bottom is the direct cremation, okay, which, you know, we'd rather not do. We'd rather choose the big stuff at the top. But we have to take them through this funnel in order to figure out the real reason why they're choosing it. So this is the cremation funnel. If the question is burial versus cremation, then sell. I mean, I hate that dirty word, but we're businesses, right? We have to be adept at this. We have to sell. We have to close the deal. Then sell the benefits of burial and the visitation. I don't know about you, but I don't see this as too big of an issue anymore. Families are walking in the door. They either know they want cremation or they know they want burial. Very rarely does someone say, well, tell me about burial and cremation. Not usually anymore. We're usually already on to number two. They've already chose cremation. So, but if they haven't, we need to be adept in our communication skills, in our verbal and nonverbal communication, and our sales tactics. So if cremation is already the answer, then we need to sell them on the benefits of embalming, viewing, visitation, and having the body present. We need to sell them on the benefits of full service cremation. And we need to tell them why full service cremation is the preferred method of disposition if they're choosing cremation. However, if they say no on anything, embalming, viewing, visitation, body present, if they say no on any of this, then we need to sell the value of the visitation without the body present. We need to know how to sell a cremation with a memorial visitation and service. In my case, cemetery service and catering. I don't know about you. I'm sure you have. I've done full service funerals with just an urn, full visitation, full parlor service or church service, full procession to the cemetery. I tell my families, you cannot process on the streets without a hearse, so you got to buy a hearse. And then I'm selling catering at the same time. So I'm selling full service funerals that are this, cremation with memorial service and visitation. Now, if the family refuses all of the above, And if they say no on all the above, then and only then, bottom of the funnel, is it truly a cost decision. Then and only then are they choosing direct cremation, for any number of reasons. And their reasons, they don't necessarily have to tell you. They're not necessarily going to tell you. But we should bring every single family through that funnel and make them refuse all of our other services before we let them choose direct cremation, whatever you call it, simple cremation, direct cremation, memorial cremation, whatever term you use. Semantics and logistics are important, however you refer to it, however you talk about it. That's important. But each and every single one of your arranger, if it's you should be bringing them through this process. If you are, great. Raise your hand up in the air, bend it at the elbow, give yourself a pat on the back if you're already doing it. However, if you're not, you need to know that all of your other arrangers are doing it as well. All of your arrangers have to be doing all this. We have to be taking our families through the cremation funnel. 3 things that Sam McGee values more than our services, unfortunately, but it's the reality of today. He values a party, he values vacation, and he values lots of other stuff. I'll break it down. Actual comments heard in arrangements. Have you ever heard this? When I die, throw a big party and invite all of my family and friends. I'd rather spend it on that than this big full service traditional funeral. I mean, nothing brings people together like family, friendship, fellowship, and food in the form of a party, right? This is the best reason that I can, think of for catering. Because folks, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as they leave your funeral home, as soon as they leave the church, as soon as they leave the cemetery, they are going out to eat. That's what they're doing. That's where they're going. So why shouldn't we in the funeral service profession be a part of that? And why shouldn't we be benefiting from that service? It's just an extension of our services. Okay. That's another presentation for another day, but I wholeheartedly believe in that. And it is making a difference in my business. Now, if you don't want to be a caterer or you don't want to do this, don't step on the toes of your church. A lot of my clergy tell me they don't want to be in the funeral business. So they don't like the fact that some of these visitations and funeral services are happening in their churches. They would rather us do it. They really would. And maybe there's a restaurant in your neighborhood. You can say to them, listen, I do 175, I do 100, I do 50 calls, I do 200 calls a year. And these are 200 families that could benefit your business. Partner with your local restaurant, your local caterer, partner with your local country club. Tell them, show them, owner to owner, talk to them and tell them how you can benefit their business. Some type of business partnership, bartering, sharing, some type of referral program. This is what's going to make these firms that adopt this survive in the future and beyond. Actual comments heard in arrangements about a vacation. When I die, take the extra insurance money and take the family on a dream vacation or cruise. We should be partnering with our local travel agents. We should have a list of websites printed on our letterhead. We should have this as part of our aftercare. Having our aftercare or a pre-need professional or our aftercare professional or our service celebrant handling these with our families, asking, how can I help? How can I be of service? How can we take care of you, not just during the death, but after the passing, right? Some type of concierge or personal contact service in conjunction with aftercare. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the stuff. I mean, this is where it's going. This is not news to any one of you. It's not going back, right? It's not going back. In short, if our families no longer value the event of the traditional funeral service, we need to plan related events that are valued, right? Folks, I'm showing maybe 5 minutes. I can open up the floor to questions right now if that is available on the chat. That reaches the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Justin. So I'll remind everyone, if you have a question or comment, please type them in the question box, and I will wait a few moments to see if we have any questions.
While we are waiting, let me end where I began by saying that, ladies and gentlemen, there are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen strange sights, but by far the strangest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake LaBarge that I cremated Sam McGee. The end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin. It doesn't look like we have any questions. Just some really good comments saying thank you for the presentation. It was fantastic. Thank you for your honesty and experiences.
Listen, you're welcome. I'm in this game just like you are, folks. I live this and breathe this every day. If you need me as a resource, my contact information should be readily available and found. Please feel free to reach out, and thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Justin. And I'll remind everyone that we appreciate if you give us 7 to 10 business days to get your portal reflecting this credit. And I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. And thank you again, Justin.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Appreciate it.